Hello, how are ya? Hope you're having a good Tuesday. Welcome to the replay. We're going to paint my cat in the dark painting. That is one of my ArtGirls tracers for this month, or templates, whatever you want to call it. And yes, we're going to paint it. That's what we're going to do over here at Paint It Up. But anyway, so I'm going to sketch it off on this canvas. A lot of times I will use like a repurposed sign or, you know, something like that. But I'm just going to use an 11 by 14 canvas. And this is just printed on an 8.5 by 11. If you want to grab the tracers, if you type canvas in the comments, CANVAS, it will send you a link. You can grab it. You can watch this. It will later be on my YouTube channel, but you can of course watch it here. But I will also upload it on my YouTube channel. So if you want to subscribe to my YouTube, which I'd appreciate it very much, it would mean the world to me if you did that, you can type YouTube26 and it'll send you what you need to join me over there. So you can see all my tutorials and stuff. They're all free. It's over there. You don't have to pay for nothing. It's all free over there. Go hang out with me. Anyways, let's trace this off. I need a pencil. Hold on. Let's trace off the cat. And I'm just using some carbon paper. And I actually need to order some more carbon paper because the carbon paper is seeing better days. And if you want a link to the carbon paper that I use, I think my keyword is tracer, but I can't remember. I have a lot of them set up with my little chatty bot. So I'm just going to sketch him off really quick just so I have my lines, just so you can kind of see how the tracers work. My ArtGirls get 4 new tracers each month. Usually they are something around seasonal or, you know, something like that that they can use for, and as long as you're an ArtGirls member, you can use my tracers for paint parties and all the fun things. If you're not an ArtGirls member, you can use them for your personal use. Oh, I need his eyes. I forgot to do the eyes. I forgot to do the eyes and the nose. I mean, I can add them in, but we're going to trace it just like it would be traced. Okay. All right. So we got our little lines. They're a little hard to see. It's time to retire that tracer paper. I've used it way too much. But happy Tuesday. I've been on jury duty watching this trial. Y'all, I tell you what, I was painting yesterday and I was all up into this trial. I could not, like, I would keep running. I was in my hallway and I kept running back out to my my bedroom, and I'm into my living room, I mean, so that I could watch it. And I'm kind of debating on turning it on here, but then I don't want y'all to hear it in the background, you know. Because when you're on jury duty, you got to be present. You know what I'm saying? And I want to be present with y'all while we paint. Oh my goodness. I'm crazy. Just ignore me. Right, let's get a paper plate. Let's get our color palette. So I want to do some purple for the background. Maybe a little like black, navy. Let's do navy. I don't really want to do black. Then, because our cat's going to be black, I think. Listen, I'm not a huge like Halloween girl. So, you know, but I wanted to offer like a cute, like little Halloween inspired. I'm just not much of a Halloween girl. Sorry if you are. No offense. It's just not my thing. I like fall because I like things that you can decorate with for a long period of time. So we got some orange. What else? Let's get some white because you always need white. And I think I want to do the eyes like a green kind of color, like a little limey green. So let's do that. And then that's way too much paint anyway, but whatever. And then the fence, I I may do the fence brown. I'm going to throw some brown on here. I don't know. I may not use it. I may. Who knows? Normally I use Hobby Lobby paint or Michael's paint. Just my preference. Also, I will use Deco Art or, you know, some of the more, I would say, higher brands. But I try to keep the playing field easy for those that, you know, don't want to pay, you know, for a certain brand or whatever. Michael's Hobby Lobby offers great quality paint for a good price. And so, anyway, all right, let's start painting. Enough of my mouth. I need my brushes though. Let me grab this bucket right quick. I'm just gonna set it over here for now. So let's start with the background, and I think I want to start with like a little bit of navy up in the corners, okay? So I'm gonna start with like a little bit of navy up here. And I always do like a mock-up just of these, like, so that my art girls do have something to look at, even if I don't get around to painting it. I mean, in a perfect world, I would love to be able to paint every single painting that I put, or canvas tracer that I put out. It just doesn't always happen. Like last month, I didn't get to paint hardly anything because I was doing murals. So, and I still got lots of murals to do. You know what? I'm kind of thinking I might go with like a little, like moon in the background. I just now thought of that. Well, let's do that. I kind of like that. So let's do this like navy, like that. And kind of create like a little like round moon shape. If that makes sense. Around the background, around the cat. All right, so I'm just kind of painting it in with that navy. I am going to add a little bit of purple in. So then I'm going to come back and pick up a little bit of purple and sort of work that in to the background. I covered up a little bit of his tail right there, but it's fine. I'll put it back. I'll put it back. All right, and so I want to create like a light around it, okay? So, and I'm gonna need some yellow. So let me grab a little bit of yellow because I want to create like the moon shape. You just have to be careful with when you mix blue and yellow, because what happens when you mix blue and yellow? You get green. So I don't want a green sky. So I'm going to use my white first to just kind of go around the edge. Okay, that brush sucks. You hear me? Let me get a little bit bigger brush. Yeah, that's better. Okay. So let's get like a bigger brush and just go around the edge here. And it's gonna mix because this paint's wet, but that's kind of what I want it to do. And there is a moon in the background, but that's fine. Like, it's, don't like overthink the fact, well, there's a moon. You sketched out a moon in the background. I'm just wanting to create like a little bit of light in there. And I will go back over the lines of my cat to where I can, I'm just going to go over the edge of the lines just a little bit. It kind of covers up some of like his body and the tail and all that, but I can put that back in, so I'm not stressing over that. Okay. All right, so I'm using white mostly white, and going in. So it's making like a light blue, bluish purple sort of color. Okay. And I'm gonna keep doing like this, like circular shape, because I want it to stay that, like, I don't want it to look like I'm going back and forth. I want it to have that sort of circular round shape on it. So that's the way I have to paint. Okay. So I'm working my way around. Okay, and if I want to add a little bit of yellow in there, I can. So that's kind of like where we're at so far, okay? If I want to add a little bit of yellow in there, I can do that. I just have to be careful because I don't want it to turn green on me. So I want to be careful that I don't get too much. I don't keep blending it back and forth. Otherwise it's going to turn green. And I don't want that because I don't want a green sky. Just want a little glow of the yellow. And I'm going to use a little bit more purple too. So I'm going to pick up a little bit of purple and give it a little bit more streakiness in the sky. And I'm going to have to go back and put my moon back in, but we'll do that. No stress. Okay, so I got that little bit of purple, little bit of yellow, little bit of white, and then that navy blue. Okay. Now I'm going to go ahead and come down here and do this fence. And I think I want to do it brown. Maybe add a little bit of white in with the brown. I don't know. But for now, I'm just going to paint in the fence. This is kind of like, or ledge, whatever it is. It, you know, it can be a fence. It can be whatever you want it to be. I'm making it into like a little fence with like a little ledge. Gotta go over the bottom of his feet just a little bit. Okay. So I'm just going to paint that in, and then I'm just going to do like the lines here, like really just with some brown. And then I'm going to come back with the white and kind of fill in, letting it be a little bit lighter. Let's try that again, friend. If somebody calls my phone, I don't know what happens, but it ends up like cutting me off. But anyway, so as I was saying, I'm going to outline the legs just so I kind of know where they are. And then I'll kind of come in and use a little tiny bit of white in the middle there to help define them a little bit, so I don't lose them. That just, if you struggle with like being able to like, no, okay, this is where my legs were or whatever, that helps you keep from losing them. And I'm going to make his little tail like really furry too. I want his tail to look like it's furry. Yeah, if somebody calls my phone, I don't know why, but like it causes me to not be able to be seen for whatever reason. Like, or you can't hear me. So, we'll try again. Okay, so we got to do the feet. So I'm going to add in the little feet of my cat. And I'm just doing like those little paw print looking brush, making those little circles at the bottom for his little feet, his little feet pads. And then I'm just going to go in and fill in everywhere and leave a little bit of that white just kind of showing. And I'll turn this around to where you can kind of see what I'm talking about. I won't leave it exactly like that, but it just helps me to be able to see, okay, this is where the feet were, the legs were, and I don't lose that. And I'll come in and like make them look like they're supposed to, but I just kind of added like a little bit of gray down there at the bottom where his legs are. And I'm going to come in and do like my face on my cat. And I'm going to use like a little bit of white and make sort of like some gray areas in the cat. Not that he's actually gray, but you know, there's no such thing as like light black or, you know, unless you call it gray. But, so I'm trying to create like a little bit of depth with the gray. So, or with, you know, a lighter black or white added in there. I want to make his little fur a little bit more like fluffy on the edges there. There we go. Okay. So I'm going to use the white now that I have that and just come in, and while this black is still wet, and add in like some gray areas, like with the white. And what this does is it creates some like depth in my cat and helps him not to look so flat. And he looks more like, I don't want to say real, because I'm not going for like a photorealism, but it does make him look more realistic. And that's what I want. I want you to look at him and go, okay, that's a cat, not just a big black blob on a canvas. So, and we're using the white to do that with the, and of course I'll still keep black in there, but just that little bit of white helps me make him look like he's got some legs there and his little feet. And I'll let it dry, and then I'll come back and work on it a little bit more. But the biggest thing is I just want to create that that look of some fur, cat fur. And we're going to do that with the white. And I'll turn it around so you can kind of see it. So I'll add a little bit like white, like around the top of his eyes. And because this is black, I do have to kind of let it blend a little bit and, you know, let it be kind of chunky looking, but I'll come back and soften it up a little bit if it looks too harsh in some areas. So, all right. And I don't think I'm going to do, I don't know if I want to do pink in the ears. I'm not sure yet, but there is like our little cat so far. Okay. I don't think I want to do pink. Let's maybe just do like white and like a little bit of brown. I feel like the pink will stand out just a little too much. And I think I would rather have white and brown in the ears. So I'm going to use that little bit of brown there, like that. Now you can choose to use pink if you want to, but I'm going with the. And I want to add some shading in my bow too. So I'm going to use the white, and I'm going to come in and use white in my bow, just so it's not all just this flat orange. And I'm just adding in a little bit of highlight at the top and creating that little, and you can even, and I could even pick up like a little bit of brown in my bow and use that to add like a little shadow on the bottom and create, you know, the dark and the orange. I just don't want it to get, I want it to still be a bright orange. I don't want it to look too muted. So I want to be careful that I don't get it too dark. Because I don't want it to be real dark. I still want it to be a bright orange bow. But sometimes you just got to kind of play with it. And okay, so I'm adding I'm pulling down, this black's a little wet, so I'm kind of pulling that black down around the center of the, like where it would be tied like in a knot. So I'm adding that dark in the center of the bow, if you can kind of see it, to make the center of the bow just a little bit, or like around the edge of that knot, I guess you could say. I'm actually going to add a little bit more orange back in there, in the middle of in that knot. Okay. Cute. And for the nose, I think I'm going to do a gray nose. I need to get like a tiny little brush. I need a small brush, not a big one, for my nose. I think I want to do gray. If I don't like it, I'll do something different, but I don't want to use pink and I don't want to use brown. So gray is my option at this point. It almost looks like a little heart, kinda. And then I'll actually end up using the gray and the white to kind of create like a little like mouth with my brush. And I'll hold that up too so you can see it. I'm getting paint all over my arms. So I just added a little gray mouth there. And I'll probably come back and make a little bit more light, I guess you could say, around the in there. And I'm going to go in with his eyes now. The cats sort of have those like, you know, almond shape or like pointed ends on their eyes. So I want to make sure that I keep that. And I do have like that you know, white on the edge, but I'm going to go in and kind of highlight that. I'm going to use a little bit of the white to put a little highlight in the eye. But I want to create that like pupil that is a little bit more like pointy on the ends. I'm going to do the same thing on this side. And I'm adding a little dark pupil in the middle. And then I'm just going around the edge to kind of clean up my lines where they got a little messed up. And maybe soften that white also that's in the eye, because I don't want it to have a lot of white showing in the eyes. Let's do a little highlight. And you know what? I think I need to take a little bit of the white out over here because it got a little, yeah, that looks good. Okay. I'm going to use the dark like that. All right, so there we go. There's his little eyes. Kind of make him look sort of scary, but not real scary. I don't do scary. I don't like scary stuff. So I'm coming in with a little bit of white in this spot there I did not have any paint, and I'm filling in that brown where I used a little brown for his place in his ears. Okay. And then I want to come back with that little brush and a little bit more white. Give him a little highlight on his nose. And also just create a little bit more harsh line with that white for his mouth. And I'm using a little like little tiny brush here. And then I'm going to go around the edge of him with like some of this little brush and just create like that like furry kind of texture around the edge of his body. And some of this black is still wet, which is fine. It's going to mix with the black with the white and create like a little gray. And if it gets too white, again, I can go back over it with the black. So it's not a big deal. But I told you I wanted to work on his legs a little bit more. And this is what I want to do, is I want to go back down there and kind of define his legs a little bit. I don't want them to be straight because I've got furry little legs around everything else. So I don't want it to be too straight, but I also don't want them to be like super white either, because then they're going to stick out like too much. I don't want them to be too noticeable, but I do want it to be able to be seen. Hey, okay, there's one foot, there's the other foot, so it creates the illusion of feet and not just a big black blob down here at the bottom, because you don't want to you don't want it to look like you can't tell where his feet go. So we got to work on that. Because that's important. We got to be able to see his legs and his feet. Okay. Now I want to work on this little leg right here just a little bit. Sorry, I'm looking at my picture that I drew out on my iPad here. Looking at my tracer. Okay. All right, he is looking cute. Or she, it could be a girl. We need to work on the background too. All right, let me kind of show you my cat, what we got so far. There he is. He's cute. Oh my gosh, I love him. All right, so we have in the background, we have a little crescent moon up here. So I want to put that back in. And I'm going to use white to do that. Might add a little yellow. But we've got a little crescent moon up here at the top. And I'm just going to use a little bit of yellow. And mostly white. Okay. All right, so we've got our moon put in there. All right, so I'm just adding a little bit more white in there. And then I want to come down here and work on this while I let that dry because I want to make sure this is good and dry. Actually, I've got a few spots in my background that didn't cover too good, so I'm going to go back over them and add a few more like little streaks. I want a little bit more purple to show up. So I'm going to come in and use my brush to create a little bit more like streaky look in the background instead of it looking so blended. So I'm going to use that to give me my little streaks. And to get those streaks, you just have to be okay with letting it not look blended and like doing a brush stroke and not going back over it. And that can be hard because our intuition and our human nature is to want to go and blend it because, you know, we don't want it to be streaky looking. We think it needs to be, but those streaks actually make it look better, I think. I like the streaks. And then you may have to end up going back, and I'm going to put a little bit more white in there. So I'm going to have to go back and add a little bit more white too. Sometimes you put dark and then you have to go back and add a little bit of light. So don't feel like if you do that, you've messed up. It's just, sometimes you kind of have to rework it back together. So there we go. And I like that a little bit better. I like those streaks a little bit more. So he looks cute. He looks so cute. He's so cute. Okay, let's work on this little fence down here. And I think I want to add a little bit of black in it. So I'm actually going to come in and use like my black that was left over, and I'm going to sort of pull down in a few places, almost like a dry brush to create, and I might come up from the bottom and create like the look of like weathering or, you know, something like that. Do I know what I'm creating? No. Ha! I'm just doing it. It seems to look good. It fits. It makes sense to me, okay? And then I can separate it out with like a little bit of just the brown to make it like feel more like a, you know, a slatted fence or a wall or whatever. I'm going to add a little bit of white there too. And I can come in and add a little bit of white there. Okay. I'm liking that. Yeah. Digging it. Cute. Okay, so for the stars, let me show you all the fence or the wall, whatever you want to call it, just so you can kind of see it. She's cute. He's cute. It's cute. Whatever it is. It's a cute little cat. Not a cat person. Not an animal person, but he's a cute cat. All right, I want to get some more like clean white because my other white's got blue in it. And I'm going to go in a little bit more with that. Okay. Okay. Now, I want to take my... Now, on the tracer, it actually has like stars, okay? You can do that if you want to. I'm going to actually do more like, I'm going to do a dot like this. And then I'm sort of going to pull out like that. And sort of create like this little twinkly star. Of course, you do whatever feels most comfortable to you. Like there is no wrong like way to do it. That's the thing with the tracer. It's helping you get more comfortable with painting, but also allowing you to, you know, have those lines to make you feel more comfortable and give you a starting point, but then you can create and you learn to just do your own thing and not stress out about something not being perfect. So I'm going to turn this around so you can kind of see my little twinkly stars up close. And literally all it is I'm getting paint all over me. All it is I'm touching with the dot and then kind of getting the excess paint off my brush. And I'm just pulling out, maybe like in north, south, east, west, and then I go in between those. And it kind of creates this like twinkly little star. And you can also sort of use that for like a snowflake too, if you want to. I think it looks better with stars, but you know, you can do it with like a snowflake too. But I just think that gives, and I've got 5. I usually try to do an odd number. So I'm going to do 1 down here that's not real big. And that would be 6, so I'm going to add 1 more. Well, this one kind of ended up growing to be big. Okay, so I'm going to see where the best place to put another one is. And I think I'm going to do up here at the top near the moon. There we go. All right, and like I said, I do want to add some like, yeah, I think I'm going to put a little brown in the nose. Yeah, just a little bit of brown. I think I like that. Maybe even a little brown in the eye right there. Yeah. I want to do a little splatter because y'all know I love a splatter. And I'm going to use like a little wispy brush like this, okay? And I'm going to take and mix like my yellow and white together, mostly white. And I'm just going to flick a little bit of that paint onto my brush, onto my canvas from my brush. I'm not wanting it to be like a whole bunch, but I do want to create like a little, you know, you can do this with a toothbrush as well. just a little bit of splatter in the back to make it fun. I want to use a little bit more white. That got a little too yellowy. I want more white. And sometimes it might work better to use a wet brush and like a little bit thinner paint. Then you'll get more of like a good splatter too. But, and if I get a little bit on my cat, I don't stress over it. So that kind of lets you see. You know what? I feel like his eyes are not quite as bright as I want them. So let's go in and brighten up the eyes just a little bit. I feel like they're just a little too pale. So let me get, let me rinse my brush out. I might have to even add a little bit of yellow to them. I think that might do the trick. Yeah, I think that made a difference. Just to brighten up the eyes a little bit. But isn't that a cute little painting? I love him so much. I think he turned out really cute. I like that pretty good. So you can take your tracer and create a fun little painting for Halloween or fall, or just because you got a cat. And he don't have to be black. He can be yellow, green, blue, purple, whatever color you want him to be. But I thought he turned out really cute. I like him a lot. It's hard to kind of see the splatters